Have Prince Harry and Meghan Markle become spectators in a family they once stood at the center of? That's the question dominating royal discussions after their absence from another significant royal gathering. While no official statement suggested they were expected to attend, commentators quickly focused on the symbolism behind their absence. For years, every major royal event involving Harry and Meghan has generated headlines that often overshadow the occasion itself. If you enjoy thoughtful coverage of the royal family and want to stay updated on the latest developments surrounding Catherine, Princess of Wales, and the future of the monarchy, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue bringing you in-depth royal stories, exclusive insights, and balanced analysis. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next royal update. Some royal observers argue that their presence would inevitably have shifted public attention away from the celebration and toward ongoing questions about their relationship with the monarchy. Whether fair or unfair, the couple continue to occupy a unique position within the royal narrative, close enough to remain relevant, yet distant enough to fuel endless speculation. What makes the situation especially notable is that conversations no longer focus on temporary disagreements. Instead, they increasingly center on whether a meaningful reconciliation is even possible.
The royal family has weathered countless disputes throughout its history, but modern media has amplified every perceived slight and every missed appearance. As a result, each event Harry and Meghan do not attend becomes a story in itself, and according to several royal commentators, that growing pattern may reveal far more about the current state of family relations than any official announcement ever could. But this was only the beginning of a much larger conversation. Attention then shifted from royal events to Meghan's growing lifestyle business, where a seemingly simple product became the source of unexpected controversy. Critics revisited comments Meghan reportedly made years ago when she questioned the appeal of extremely expensive candles. Fast forward to today, and some of the premium products associated with her lifestyle brand carry price tags that have reignited debate online. Supporters argue that circumstances change, brands evolve, and luxury products naturally target different markets. Critics, however, see a contradiction between past remarks and current business practices. The debate itself is less about candles and more about public perception. High-profile figures are often judged not only by what they do today, but also by what they said years earlier. In the digital era, past statements can resurface instantly, creating narratives that are difficult to control. For Meghan, the controversy highlights a challenge faced by many public figures attempting to transition from one chapter of life into another. Every business decision becomes scrutinized through the lens of previous comments and public expectations. The result is a discussion that extends well beyond retail products and into broader questions about authenticity, consistency, and personal evolution. Yet another development would soon add fuel to an already growing fire. The controversy intensified when reports emerged that Meghan had sent a gift package and personal note to a supporter known within online royal communities. On the surface, thanking a supporter may seem routine for a public figure. However, critics quickly pointed out that the recipient had allegedly shared content critical of other members of the royal family, including Prince William and Catherine. This transformed what might have been a simple gesture into a broader debate about responsibility and public messaging. Supporters of Meghan argue that individuals should not be held accountable for every opinion expressed by people who support them. Others disagree, suggesting that public figures must carefully consider how their actions could be interpreted. The discussion became less about a single gift and more about symbolism. In an environment already marked by tension between different royal factions, even small gestures can carry outside significance. Royal commentators noted that perceptions often matter as much as intentions. Whether the gesture was meant as simple appreciation or something else entirely, the reaction demonstrated how closely every move connected to the Sussexes continues to be monitored.
And behind this controversy lies a much larger force that has transformed royal discussions in recent years. That force is the phenomenon widely known as the Sussexy Squad. Over the past several years, this highly engaged online community has become one of the most influential groups in royal social media discussions. Supporters view the group as a passionate network defending Harry and Meghan against what they see as unfair criticism. Detractors argue that some members have crossed the line into aggressive behavior directed toward other royals and journalists. What cannot be denied is the group's influence. The rise of digital communities has fundamentally changed how royal stories unfold. In previous generations, debates happened through newspapers, television programs, or private conversations. Today, millions of people can participate in real time, creating powerful narratives that spread globally within hours. The Sussexy Squad represents a broader transformation in how royal coverage is consumed and debated. Rather than passive audiences, supporters and critics now actively shape public conversations.
This has contributed to an increasingly polarized environment where every royal development is interpreted through competing perspectives. The monarchy has survived political crises, scandals, and family disputes, but the digital age presents a new challenge, one where public perception can shift dramatically overnight. And nowhere is that challenge more visible than in the story of Harry and Meghan. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this entire discussion concerns Prince Harry himself. Several former royal insiders and commentators have described a striking contrast between the Harry remembered from earlier years and the Harry seen today. During much of his younger life, Harry was widely regarded as one of the monarchy's most relatable figures. His military service, charitable work, and approachable personality earned praise from both the public and the media. Yet critics argue that his public image has changed significantly since stepping back from royal duties. Supporters counter that the world is simply seeing a more independent version of Harry, someone no longer constrained by palace structures and expectations. The truth may be more complex than either interpretation suggests. Public figures often evolve as circumstances change, and few transitions have been as dramatic as Harry's move from senior royal to private citizen living in California. What remains undeniable is that perceptions of Harry have become deeply divided.
To some, he is a man determined to control his own narrative. To others, he represents a cautionary tale about the costs of breaking away from tradition. And as debates continue over his future role, one question remains unresolved. Has Harry changed, or has the public simply changed the way it sees him? If there is one place that perfectly symbolizes the complicated relationship between Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the monarchy they left behind, it may be Frogmore Cottage. Once presented as the couple's future home within the royal estate, the property represented stability, continuity, and a long-term place inside the institution. Significant renovations transformed the residence into what was expected to be a permanent family base. Yet history unfolded very differently. Less than a year after settling there, Harry and Meghan announced their decision to step back from royal duties and eventually relocate abroad. Years later, Frogmore remains a powerful reminder of a path not taken. Reports that the property could be returned to its previous configuration have once again placed the cottage at the center of public discussion. To some observers, it is merely a practical real estate decision. To others, it represents the final dismantling of a chapter that once appeared central to the monarchy's future. Buildings often become symbols in royal history, and Frogmore is no exception. What began as a promise of permanence has evolved into a symbol of separation.
And for many royal watchers, the story of Frogmore is not really about bricks and mortar at all. It is about a relationship that gradually drifted from cooperation to distance, leaving behind questions that remain unanswered even today. The debate surrounding Frogmore naturally leads to another issue that continues to generate strong opinions: whether King Charles was right to remove the couple's access to the property. Supporters of the decision argue that once Harry and Meghan chose a life outside the working monarchy, maintaining an official royal residence became increasingly difficult to justify. From that perspective,
the decision reflected institutional consistency rather than personal punishment. Critics, however, see the situation differently. They argue that keeping a residence available might have preserved a stronger connection between Harry, his father, and the wider royal family. Some commentators have suggested that physical distance often becomes emotional distance over time. A home inside the royal estate could have provided opportunities for informal visits, family gatherings, and perhaps even gradual reconciliation. Instead, the separation became more visible. Whether the decision was driven by practical considerations, public perception, or broader institutional concerns, it marked another significant milestone in the evolving relationship between the Sussexes and the monarchy.
And as with many royal decisions, the long-term consequences may only become clear years later. What seemed like a property matter quickly became something much larger, a reflection of how difficult it can be to balance family relationships with the demands of a centuries-old institution. Another recurring theme in royal discussions is security. For Harry, this issue has remained one of the most sensitive aspects of his post-royal life. Since leaving his official role, questions surrounding protection, travel arrangements, and access to secure royal properties have repeatedly surfaced. Supporters argue that his concerns are understandable, given his status, family history, and public profile. Critics counter that stepping away from official duties inevitably changes the level of support available from the state. The debate extends beyond legal arguments or security protocols. At its core, it touches on a deeper question about identity and belonging. Can someone leave the institution while maintaining all the benefits that came with membership? The monarchy has consistently maintained that responsibilities and privileges are closely linked. Harry's supporters often respond that family connections should transcend institutional boundaries. The disagreement illustrates a broader tension that has defined much of the Sussex story. It is a conflict between personal autonomy and institutional expectations.
Neither side appears willing to fully embrace the other's perspective, creating a situation where compromise becomes increasingly difficult. And as long as that tension remains unresolved, security concerns are likely to remain intertwined with larger debates about Harry's place within the royal family. Meanwhile, another issue continues to attract attention from royal observers: the relationship between King Charles and his grandchildren in California. While details remain largely private, commentators frequently point to geography as one of the biggest obstacles. Thousands of miles separate the Sussex household from the royal residences of the United Kingdom. In previous generations, family gatherings often helped ease tensions and maintain bonds across disagreements. Today, those opportunities appear far less frequent. Royal experts have repeatedly noted that distance can create challenges, even within ordinary reality is difficult to ignore. The king continues to fulfill demanding public duties, while Harry and Meghan are increasingly separate, each following a distinct path.
For many observers, this situation raises concerns not only about present relationships, but also about future generations. As years pass, opportunities to strengthen family bonds become more limited, and that reality may ultimately prove more significant than any headline or public disagreement. Perhaps the most striking element of the entire Sussex story is how dramatically it has transformed the public conversation around the monarchy itself. For decades, royal narratives largely focused on ceremonies, charitable work, and constitutional duties. Today, discussions increasingly revolve around family dynamics, personal grievances, media battles, and competing versions of events. Harry and Meghan did not create every challenge facing the monarchy, but their departure accelerated debates that were already emerging beneath the surface. Questions about modernization, transparency, public accountability, and personal freedom now occupy a much larger space in royal coverage. Supporters view this shift as necessary and overdue. Critics argue that it risks overshadowing the institution's broader purpose.
regardless of where one stands, the impact is undeniable. The Sussex era has changed how royal stories are reported, consumed, and interpreted around the world. Every interview, every public appearance, and every business venture becomes part of a larger narrative about the future of the monarchy.
And as new generations step closer to positions of greater responsibility, the consequences of these debates will continue to shape the institution for years to come. Yet even after countless headlines, documentaries, interviews, and public statements, one central question remains unanswered. Can the divisions that have defined this chapter eventually heal, or has the royal family entered a new era from which there is no turning back? As discussions surrounding Harry and Meghan continue, one detail repeatedly emerges from royal commentators and former palace insiders alike: the growing sense that reconciliation is becoming more difficult with each passing year. Family disagreements are not unusual, even within the most prominent households. What makes this situation unique is that every development unfolds under an international spotlight. Private frustrations quickly become public narratives. Every interview is analyzed, every appearance is scrutinized, every silence is interpreted. The result is a cycle that can make rebuilding trust extraordinarily challenging. Royal observers often note that reconciliation requires private conversations, mutual understanding, and a willingness to move beyond past grievances. Yet public attention has made each of those steps more complicated. The longer the separation continues, the more established new routines and new realities become.
Harry and Meghan have built a life in California, while the monarchy continues adapting to a new reign under King Charles. Two very different worlds now operate simultaneously. And while bridges can always be rebuilt, many commentators believe the window for an easy reconciliation may be narrowing. The question is no longer whether differences exist. The question is whether enough common ground remains to overcome them. At the same time, the role of Prince William has become increasingly significant. As heir to the throne, William represents the future direction of the monarchy. Every decision he makes is viewed through the lens of long-term stability and institutional continuity. Reports over the years have suggested tensions between the brothers, although the true nature of their relationship remains known only to those closest to them. What is clear, however, is that their paths have diverged dramatically. One brother remains at the center of the institution. The other chose life beyond its boundaries. Historically, royal families have survived disagreements between siblings, but rarely under such intense media scrutiny. For William, the challenge involves balancing personal relationships with constitutional responsibilities. For Harry, the challenge is defining his identity outside the royal framework, while remaining connected to his family history. The contrast between their journeys has become one of the defining stories of modern royal life.
And as William moves closer to his future role as king, many royal watchers wonder whether the distance between the brothers will eventually shrink or become an enduring feature of this generation's royal narrative. Another factor shaping public perception is the evolving role of media itself. The relationship between the royal family and the press has always been complicated. Long before social media existed, newspapers influenced public understanding of royal events, successes, and controversies. Today, that influence has multiplied exponentially. Information moves faster. Reactions spread instantly. Narratives form within minutes rather than days. Harry has repeatedly spoken about his concerns regarding media coverage, while critics argue that public engagement with media platforms remains central to the Sussexes' own strategy. This apparent contradiction has fueled ongoing debate. Some view the couple as challenging outdated systems. Others believe they remain deeply connected to the very media ecosystem they criticize. Regardless of perspective, one reality is undeniable. Modern royal life cannot be separated from modern media. Every story exists within a constant cycle of commentary, analysis, and interpretation. And in that environment, even relatively small developments can quickly become global talking points. The monarchy's future will depend not only on how it manages internal challenges, but also on how it navigates an increasingly complex information landscape.
What makes this story particularly compelling is that it extends beyond individual personalities. At its core, the Sussex saga reflects broader questions facing institutions around the world. How does tradition adapt to changing expectations? How can organizations maintain continuity while responding to demands for modernization? And perhaps most importantly, what happens when personal priorities collide with institutional obligations? These questions resonate far beyond royal circles. They touch on themes of family, identity, independence, and responsibility. Harry and Meghan's journey has become a symbol of those tensions for many observers. Supporters see courage in their decision to forge a different path. Critics see consequences resulting from choices that challenged long-established structures. Both interpretations continue to shape public debate. Yet the enduring fascination with the story suggests that people are responding to something larger than celebrity headlines. They are responding to universal questions about belonging, loyalty, and the difficult balance between individual freedom and collective responsibility. And those questions are unlikely to disappear anytime soon. Ultimately, the future remains uncertain. No commentator, royal expert, or former palace insider can say with confidence how this story will end. History is filled with examples of relationships that appeared irreparable before eventually finding a path forward.
It is equally filled with examples of divisions that became permanent. For now, the monarchy continues its work. Harry and Meghan continue building their post-royal lives. The public continues watching, and every new development is interpreted as either a sign of further separation or a potential step toward reconciliation. The truth may lie somewhere in between. Royal history rarely follows a straight line. It evolves through moments of conflict, adaptation, and unexpected change. That is why this story remains so compelling, not because all the answers are known, but because so many questions remain unresolved. And until those questions are answered, the world will continue to watch every royal headline, searching for clues about what comes next. So, where does the story go from here? Has the distance between Prince Harry and the royal family reached a point of no return? Or could time eventually succeed where public debate has failed? The answer remains hidden behind palace walls and private conversations that the public may never hear. Yet one thing is certain: what began as a royal departure has evolved into one of the most consequential chapters in modern royal history. It is a story of family, duty, reputation, and change. A story that continues to shape public perceptions of the monarchy across the world.
And as new chapters unfold, one question remains at the heart of it all. Will history remember this period as the moment the royal family fractured beyond repair, or as the beginning of a reconciliation no one saw coming? Only time will reveal the answer.